Okay, so you're just riding around on a gas bike. What about the electric? Whoa, here we go. Magico. Well, I'm really interested to see what this bike can do. Super interested. So let's have a look. So first impressions, really weird. Haven't been on the bike in quite a while. Been riding my gas bike and this feels very different. Real different to my gas bike, my KTM 390 Duke naked bike. It's a street bike obviously. Yeah, I lent this to MVR2. She's been learning on this bike, so I haven't ridden this in quite a while, so it's interesting jumping on it after just riding my gas bike all the time. But yeah man, not having ridden this bike in a while, it feels very odd getting on this. Very different. You know, in my eyes, this vehicle has got 2 wheels and a motor, so I'm saying that that's a motorbike, aka a motorcycle, so I'm going to treat it as such. Yeah, so obviously the elephant in the room is always the range, so that's what we're doing right now. So this is stock, this is fully stock, right? I started the ride at 100%. I'll stick up a shot of that because it took a snap, and I'm going to obey all the road rules, so especially the speed limit, because that's what you would have to do on a gas bike. So I'm wearing all my gear, got my mirror set up, and I'm gonna ride this just as if I was riding my gas bike. So if the speed sign says you should be doing 60, I'm gonna be doing 60, and if it says 70, 80, 90, the only one that's gonna catch us out is the 100 stretch. The bit we're going to do in just a moment, not so much, because we joined pretty much at the end of that, so by the time I get up to top speed, it'll be over. But the long stretch at around about where I reckon halfway is going to be, yeah, I won't be able to get up to 100, I don't think. Slightly windy today as well, but this bike, I don't know if it's programmed to top out at 90, but it basically does. So we'll see how we go. Obviously when I was on my L's and my P's riding this thing, I wasn't supposed to go over 90, so that worked out quite well. But now that I'm on my full blacks unrestricted license, it'll be interesting to see how we go with that. And I am trying to run the GPS from the Insta360 app on my phone, but I've not done that before, and it was a little bit annoying to try and get it going. And of course I forgot to charge my phone last night, so having a run seems to be like a little mini Wi-Fi between my phone and the camera, and also using Bluetooth as well for some reason. That's going to put a bit of a drain on the phone and the battery in the camera, so we'll see how we go. But obviously being electric and range being the hot topic, we're not going to be going anywhere near as far as I would do if I was doing a loop on my gas bike. But that's what we're doing, that's what we're trying to see, and I am running this. I'll talk a bit more about the bike as we're going along, but basically I'm running in daily because that's what I run this bike in, and the throttle sensitivity is on 2, so map 2, because I find that works out the best for me. I find it's a bit too twitchy either in sport mode or on map 3. But we'll do a top speed test just here because this is the 100 stretch, so I'm going to come to a stop and then we'll see how we go. I'll have to wait for a gap anyway. Perfect. Okay, so I'm seeing 96, that was in a slightly tucked position because, like I said before, it's a bit windy today, so obviously that has an impact. These electric bikes, you know, the numbers, it's all about torque, but yeah, kind of when you're trying to turn that into raw power, as it were, it can sometimes come up a little bit short. And I do find that, like, if you're going for a real top speed run test, getting in that tucked position, and also actually when the battery starts to die off a bit, getting in that tucked position really does help. Yeah, because it's funny, I guess, yeah, when the battery's starting to go, or you're at the limits of what the battery can send to the motor, etc., etc., yeah, getting in that tucked position does make a difference. Yeah, it does. So interesting. But yeah, back to those. So I got first impressions to cover, and also just how it feels. Like, man, coming off my gas bike, haven't ridden that thing basically just that for the last year, it feels really weird getting on this. I mean, okay, so the thing that I like about this, and the reason why I'm recommending it for an option for learner riders, is that it's super lightweight, super flickable, and it's got a bit of go if you want it to. So like, yeah, but yeah, super lightweight. So for a learner, that's pretty good, you know. So yeah, that's the upside, is that it's super lightweight, so that's good for a learner. But I mean, I'm finding this weird right now. Just there's not much weight there, so it's, I don't know, just hard to get used to that. But I guess, yeah, the lightweight nature of this one in particular, the Surron Ultra Bee, is that that helps with your range and that. Got a regular bike behind us, gas bike. Probably thinking, what the hell is that thing? So yeah, lightweight, flickable. So I think those are good things for a learner. Well, not maybe not the flickable part, but I mean that it's lightweight and kind of agile, as it were. I think the real strong point is that it's adjustable in a way that only really electric can be, and that means that for NVR2, that means for NVR2, when I was setting the bike up for her as a learner, I figured I would turn down the power, so straight away put it in eco mode, and also the throttle sensitivity, so it just tamed the bike right down and made it manageable for a brand new rider. And that goes for, you know, pretty much all these electric bikes. Like, that's one of the kind of things about them, is that you can tame them down. Even something like the Starkvarg Stigvey, is that you can take one of those 80 horsepower versions, and it seems to be that you can turn it right down, so it's nice and mellow for a beginner. But yeah, how are we going for range so far? I think it's hard to see, but I reckon that's saying 81. So as soon as we started doing 80 consistently along here, it's just chomping into that battery. But that's why we're doing this. This is a real world range test on the Surron Ultra Bee R. So it's the road edition. It's a 2024. There are 2025 off-road editions hitting the stores now, and I've seen a few videos of those. And this being the R edition of the previous, what would have been the 2023 off-road version of the bike, this has kind of got some things that seem to be on that new 2025 off-road version. So it's kind of like, yeah, a midpoint or somewhere in the middle between the 2023 off-road version and the 2025 off-road version, if I've got my dates and numbers correct. I'll say it again, this one being the 2024 Surron Ultra Bee R. So R is obviously for road, so this is road legal, because you really don't want to mess with the cops over here. They are pretty tasty when it comes to motorcycles in general, and when it comes to electric bikes, yeah, it's a bit like, so I've said this before, you know, when you're told that all Surrons are illegal, that kind of makes you feel a bit like, okay, alrighty, well, glad I wasn't on the bike at the time. But anyway, as far as I'm aware, this thing was sold as a road legal bike, and it's got rego and fully insured, and I'm being a responsible road user. Anyway, so I'll try and keep you up with as many stats as I can think of. I think the main thing is I'm running those tires, tire pressure at what they recommend for the road, which is 32 psi front and back. I'd say that was as much my fault. But like I say, I'm not trying to save on juice. I'm riding this in a way, or trying to simulate how I'd ride if it was my gas bike, so not trying to think about range or saving juice or anything like that. I'm trying to make this real world. So we're on an 80 stretch, so I'm trying to do 80. Obviously I've got a lot of stuff to look at because I don't want to end up getting smashed, so I can't just always be looking at the speedo, but I'm doing my best. And having not ridden this for so long, it is weird riding it, and there's certain stuff that I'm just not used to, how the bike moves around and stuff. And it's funny because I remember when I got this, when I was on my L's and my P's, I was kind of switching between this and my KTM 390 Duke naked street bike, and it was this bike that I almost wrecked myself twice on, because the power was just, for the weight and the way it comes on, and I guess the torque delivery or whatever, man, like either way, maybe it was just a lack of respect for the bike, what it can actually do. And this is stock, this is fully stock, right? I should have probably said that earlier. So this is the fully stock road version of the bike, and I wanted to keep it like that so that I could use it, because it's LAMS approved, okay? So it's learner approved over here, and that means that you can't do any mods to it that change the power to weight. And yeah, okay, I've changed the mirrors, but that doesn't change the power to weight. And yeah, as I was saying, I kind of lost my spot there. Yeah, it might come back there. So yeah, running the tires at 32 psi, like to say, and they are kind of like a sort of all-terrain tire, so they're not street tires by any means. But yeah, I'm trying to ride this as if this was my road bike, so I'm not trying to save on juice in any way. But yeah, it's weird jumping back on this, because when I was switching between the two back then, I was new to bikes anyway, but it didn't feel as weird as it does right now. Like, my feet feel kind of odd, but they're not too bad, because you just plant them on the foot pegs and just kind of forget about them. It's more my left hand, like, because you don't have the clutch up there, clutch lever. It's like, what am I doing with this thing, you know? And yeah, and then like with braking, my right foot wants to be assisting with the rear brake, but there isn't one. Well, there is, but it's my left hand doing the rear brake, so it's just weird. And then yeah, so going back to those settings, so what I've done is, okay, look, this is a lightweight bike, right? This is pretty much, I would argue, built for trails and stuff like that, off-road kind of stuff. And for the road, I'm looking at the discs and calipers thinking, like, they're not that big. They're big for one of these. Okay, yeah, it was a big thing when they first released the Ultra Bee. It was like, man, you're getting all that stuff as stock, and those are pretty good for an e-bike and that kind of thing. But compared to what you get on the Duke, sorry, the 390 Duke, it's like those aren't even that big compared to what you get on some bikes. But yeah, so what I've done with this is I've turned up the assisted braking to its top setting, which is 5 out of 5, and there's also like a simulated engine braking, so like your rolling resistance kind of thing. I've got that at 5 as well, just because I want as much stopping power as I can if I'm trying to bring this thing to a stop quickly, because yeah, I don't want to just solely rely on the brake pads, calipers, that kind of stuff. But to be fair, they're pretty good. Let's go for another speed run. So we're at, does that say 67? It's hard to see. So 67, yeah, I think. Yeah, doing 94. Get tucked. So I'd say 94 at 67%, 66 now, and it drops off a bit as I stand up and I'm catching a bit more of the wind, but I got it pinned right now in daily, so yeah. I'm just staying, it's gonna, like I say, try and keep it as realistic as possible. Like, I'm just sat in an upright position, like a comfortable riding position right now, and we're doing 93, so I'd say that's okay, 94. So kind of bouncing between 93 and 94. I'd say that's pretty respectable for an electric dirt bike. And obviously having the tyres pumped. I'm just going to change lanes, because when I did my sums before, I know that, like, I'm gonna have to turn around at some point, because, you know, we're talking about range and that kind of stuff. I know that this bike, I'm not riding this bike to 0, because basically once you get to 12, it doesn't punch in the same way that it should. So I am gonna make this a good place to turn, because my maths ain't so good off the top of my head, but 50 would be halfway of 100, and we're not going to be getting to 50, because 12 is the lowest I'm going to get to. So this is another thing on a bike like this, like another thing on a bike like this is that I can put my right foot down on this turn, which I wouldn't do on a gas bike. I'm going to go for this because there's tons of traffic. So just there, like, I would say the power's dropped off slightly, coming from a standing start there, but still pretty respectable, getting up to 90 there. But yeah, being able to start or leave the junction with my being able to leave the junction with my right foot down, you can't do that on a gas bike as far as I'm aware. So yeah, that's one of those weird quirks that it's just different from a gas bike. And I mean, I love tech. I think electric bikes are cool. I think they've got their place. Yeah, you're not going to be using it for doing range. You're just not. Like, not unless you're sitting on a massive battery, and that's what a lot of those sports bikes look like. Just electric sports bikes, that is. They're just a battery with wheels. I feel like this one, I don't want to say refined, because that's not the right word, but it's like this is designed for trails, maybe a bit of track, that kind of stuff. Like off-road, I mean. And yeah, it's designed with that in mind, and it's amazing what people are doing with them when they start modding them and putting different wheels, different tires, changing the controllers, the motors. There's so much that can be done. Like, it's amazing what you can do with the Ultra Bee platform. Just seeing what people have done with them, it's unreal. But like I say, I wanted to do stock, just so that it gives us a baseline, especially with those. There's going to be a new R version coming out, so I did talk to my dealer about it. It's just a little way off, same as when I was waiting for this one. I was just going, where is it, where is it? It's, you know, it's on its way, it's on its way, kind of thing. So here we go. So now we're dropping back down to 80. Obviously that'll help with the range, but still there is a sweet spot, and 80 is way above that, I would argue. But anyway, how are we doing? 54, I would say, which is probably where we want to be for having just turned around and heading back, because sorry if I'm a bit scatterbrained with what I'm saying. I'm trying to focus on writing and think of interesting stuff to say whilst doing a range test. Yeah, like I was mentioned before, I don't, okay, so when it's hard to say because I haven't ridden this bike for a little while, but back when I was riding it and seeing what it could do, that kind of thing, and I was like really trying to push the range to points where, you know, okay, how far can you go until the thing cuts out, that kind of stuff, which is not recommended for long-term life of the battery. So I didn't really want to do that. But what I did notice was 12 is where it cuts out. So as in, it's still got juice, and we might get to see that on this test if I keep going, whatever. But the point is, it's like you get to below 12 and below, I could feel a significant drop in power, to the point where I was like, if this is supposed to be a motorcycle, like, you want power, like you need power to get out of situations or get across junctions or roundabouts or whatever, or get away from danger, that kind of thing. And I was just like, nah, I'm calling it at 12%. So yeah, that's why I turned around then, because that was the last place where I was like, okay, I can definitely turn here. The next turning point after that, U-turn bay or whatever, is a bit further along. And the purpose of this range test is to ride it like a road bike and see how we go. Like it's a real world range test. Riding it as if it was my gas bike, even though I'm riding it not very well because I'm just not used to it. It feels weird, like the size, the handling, everything. It's just odd because I've not ridden it in a long time, because I've had it set up with L's on for MVR2 to practice, and that's cool. And yeah, talking about mods, like, you know, I did get this with off-road in mind, and I got the road version because I wanted to be able to ride to and from the trails. That was the thing that I wanted to do. And yeah, that kind of got put on ice whilst MVR2 was doing a thing. But I don't know, I just recently was like, you know what, feels like the right kind of time with all these other videos coming out about the new ones. Let's get a good baseline of what this one can do before the new road one comes out. And it's also super fun, man. Like, I just find this thing fun. It's just so weird and alien and different, and it's just a totally different style of riding. It really is. And I just find it super fun. I've said the analogy before about surfing. You know, I can go down to the beach with a surfboard or a bodyboard or boogie board, whatever you want to call it, and like, they're just two totally different experiences. They're both great fun, they're just different. You know, with surfing and that, you've maybe got to take a bit more equipment, that kind of thing, and you're paddling out the back. See there, I wasn't really doing the brakes too much, I was just letting the regen do its thing. And you can paddle out the back and you can sit there enjoying the environment and just kind of waiting for a great wave, and maybe getting a wave every, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever, waiting for that really good one. Or you can just rock up with a bodyboard, a boogie board or whatever, no flippers or nothing, just go in with your bare chest and just try and catch as many ways as you possibly can in as little amount of time. So it's just fun to the max, just yeah, trying to get a wave a minute kind of thing. Or the other analogy I've used before is like footy. You can do backyard football versus you know, having officials and all your gear and equipment and rules and regulations and all that kind of stuff. It's just different, you know, same thing but just different. And I don't know, I'm kind of rambling now, but to me, I'm interested in electric motorcycles. I am, like, you know, I hope there's always a place for gas bikes, I really do, but electric bikes are coming through, same as cars, so it's gonna happen. And I don't know, I'm just interested. I find them really fun to ride and just an interesting topic in general. And yeah, so, but yeah, I wouldn't be doing this trying to get long distance, because even though you can just plug it into a power point, charge it up, it takes a fair old while. So I think this one's maybe like 3.5 hours, maybe 4 hours, they say, from basically empty all the way up to the top. Yeah, but for me personally, I got this with off-roading in mind, and that's when the range stuff potentially can change, because if you're doing slow speed technical stuff, that's where that instant torque and kind of getting the most efficiency out of the motor and the battery, that all comes into play there. So that's an area that I'm super interested in. But yeah, whizzing around on the streets, that's cool as well, that's super fun. But I do think for learner riders, this might be an option. It really might. Like, just, you don't have to worry about the gears or the clutch, the kind of thing. And in the beginning, you're going to be doing your slow speed maneuvers, and you won't be riding too far. So yeah, like, I'll be interested to see how long this loop ends up being time-wise. But yeah, you know, when you're just starting out, you're doing 5, 10, 20 minute rides or whatever, and building up from there. Well, that's what I did anyway. Any cops watching? Obviously this speedo is pretty accurate, but it's not quite bang on the money, so I don't want to get rear-ended. So I know from cross-referencing it with GPS information this time last year that yeah, it slightly overestimates what you're doing, and I don't want to get rear-ended. So, and I got to look around. So, yeah, anyway, still hanging in there. How we doing? Eagle eyes out there seeing the range. I think that says 34. That's pretty small, I can't really see. So, hey, we got a nod from a real bike, so maybe in passing it's hard to tell. I think a lot of people out there they're open to the idea of electric. Why not, you know? But yeah, that says 33. I can see that one a bit more clearly. We got a plane coming in, that's pretty sick. Yeah, juicy. It's funny, my hand just being pinned. It's yeah. Oh, the other thing I should probably talk about is that I've got the ASR set to max. Not that I really think it's gonna come into play, but I'm trying to keep it as realistic to what I've done previously, and a setup that I would consider being like a road setup. But obviously there's different ways you can do it, turn off the regen, that kind of stuff. But the thing is with this one, as soon as you ease off the throttle, the wind resistance gets you anyway, and the regen just does kick in, but the braking one doesn't until you pull the brake lever. And like the rolling regen thing, like, yeah, I just think it's not going to do that much anyway. Yeah, the rolling regen, I don't know how much that's going to do. So 30% now, and the eagle-eyed 30%. And if you're eagle-eyed, you'll be able to see the kilometers as well. Okay, so we're 29% battery left, and we're just coming up to the 100 stretch again. So let's see what we can do. Okay, that's full stick, tucking down. So it's struggling now, I'd say. That's 89, I would argue. 89, 88. Man, you wouldn't want to have someone coming up the back of you now doing 100. Woo! Yeah, right, but we're coming up here anyway, so. Yeah, 88 kind of there, but it's pretty windy today, so it's not ideal conditions. Okay, so now we're back in the 60 zone. This is gonna be more favorable. It's pretty bumpy just here, so I'd say the stock suspension is adequate for road riding. I don't know how it's going to be off-road, but I'd say for road riding it's maybe feels a little bit softer than the way my KTM's set up at the moment. How are we doing range-wise? 26. We're doing pretty good. It is a similar time of year, similar temperature, around about 25 degrees I'd say at the moment, roughly. The wind is maybe cooling things off slightly, but 12 is our cutoff. That's where I don't feel it's safe to ride the bike as a real deal motorcycle, because if I want to grab some power, I want it to be there. And yes, we're not getting to the speed of like 94 like we did at the beginning with the full battery, but we're still doing 89 there, so that's, you know, depending on how accurate the speedo is, let's call that, just for argument's sake or the conversation, call it 90. So even when it was at, you know, into the 20s, it was still getting to what's considered its top speed, because they're advertised, or this bike was, if I remember correctly, advertised back in the day as having a top speed of 90. Now don't get too excited being down under. The metric is kilometers per hour rather than miles per hour, so yeah, sorry if that's been getting you excited the way through this video. But price wise as well, I should maybe mention, I think I got this for around about $10,000 dues, so I don't know, I mean the exchange rate now is different every day, and I don't know, man, with the tariffs and stuff, who knows what the difference between this model and the most recent one is price wise here and in the US. I don't know, man, but yeah, I'm not saying any of this stuff is cheap, but we don't really get into riding motorcycles without being aware of the fact that it is going to cost you money, because everything's expensive, the gear and all sorts. But I did fill up the Duke yesterday at the servo. It's one of my classic servo runs where I mess everything up, but anyway, $15 dues, so that's pretty good, I'd say. It wasn't empty by any means, but still, even when it is empty, it only seems to be around about 20. So that's not bad. So how are we doing? 23%. Okay, I might just keep rolling and go to the housing estate where I used to practice for my motorcycle operators skills test the most, over here in New South Wales, Australia. Yeah. Fun day there, showing them that you have practiced hard, or you were just born as an amazing rider. But yeah, you can see now that because we're just cruising along at 60, I would say this is maybe more in its zone. But yeah, super interesting finding out what this bike can do in stock form. and I will do more range test stuff. I'm going to do one, actually I'm going to do one where we're going now to see how it goes in more of a kind of, I don't know, urban environment is the right terminology, but like just as if you're using it for a city cruiser. Not that your butt would thank you for that, because yeah, I don't know, you can get different seats and stuff, but yeah, I don't know if you could use this as a city cruiser. I guess it would, yeah, double up pretty well. If you, I don't know how you go on knobbies, but yeah, if you set it up for off-roading, you could get to school, college, work, whatever it was. You could do it if the range was, if it was within range, I should say, because you basically learn what the range is, and then you just look on your phone and see, okay, yeah, what's the directions to there? Okay, that's 21 kilometers. So we're now, the lights just come on, so got a little power thing here saying plug me in, I need some juice. We're saying 20%, so, but I've still got power, like if I need it, it's there, which is what we're trying to find out. Sorry, what we're trying to find out is, has it still got power if I need it? And it does. And I wasn't sure where we were going to finish up, but we got this roundabout in a minute coming up, and I'm cutting across the 100 stretch that we just came off of, and man, when I want to go, that roundabout is dodgy at the best of times. So yeah, I want some power there. When I want to go, I want to go, so that'll be a good test to see how we do. Cruising past at 20%. Yeah, because we would not want to do this roundabout without juice. Oh man, I'll have to think about that in a moment. Okay. So like here, I can put my right foot down. That just feels weird. Super weird. But 19%. Okay. I'm going to go after this guy. Still got a fair bit to go. Like, man, that could have done more than that for sure, so what can I do to test that? Trying to remember the limits in here. I think it's 60 on this bit just here, and then I think it drops to 50. How can I test how we're going power wise? Oh, I could nip straight through here instead of just doing range. We know we can do range at slow speeds, like we know that's, we're going to be playing into the hands of the hands, playing into the hands. What am I doing? 50. Okay, no, we were doing 60, but it's now 50. Yeah, so we're playing into the kind of efficiency side of things. Yeah, it's going to be more efficient doing 40, 50, and I will do some riding in here just doing that, giving my butt a pounding for science and viewing pleasure. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, what are we gonna do? I'm gonna cut down here, cut through, and I'm gonna, yeah, I reckon I'm gonna nip through here and then maybe rejoin the 100 stretch to see how I go. See how we go when we get, I'll make a decision when we get there, because 18% by my peepers, that says. It's really hard to see that, like, so small. I guess if everything's flashing, you would be thinking, oh yeah, I'm should probably be thinking of calling it a day, but we're still going, and like, yeah, I'll slow down a bit, but it's, the limit in here is 50, and I would only really want to do 50 on the main drag just there, and cutting through these residential streets, I don't want to be doing more than 40 really. I just think if a kid or a dog runs out, I don't want to be that guy. Yeah, the mongrel junction. Okay, I'm going for it. Oh, I can pull out. Nah, that says 17. I'm going to go for it. Okay, let's see how we go. It is a rolling start, so that will work in our favor. We are on, last time I looked, I'm not going to look again because I'm going to focus on my riding, but 17, maybe it's down to 16 by now. It is a rolling start. I'm going to have to slow for this turn, and then I'm going to absolutely pin it and see how we go. Plus I've got to try not to get squished. Okay, pinning it. It is a fairly long stretch. Hey man, that's pretty reasonable. That is pretty reasonable. That is pretty reasonable, I'd say. We are doing 88 down to 15. Yeah man, that's not bad. It's still hauling, still going for it. So yeah, I'm gonna go back into the estate just because I want to just cruise along the main boulevard there to see how we end up with our range. Yeah, we're still cruising. So this is 60 and it just got there, no worries. I was happy to just, I mean back then, that got, what, 88 I was seeing? And it got there pretty quick. And this is in daily, I'm not even doing sport mode. I find that a bit twitchy. But, yeah, like, it's still there if I need it. You know, like, trying to check my mirrors just to make sure no one's behind me, but I mean, I was pretty mellow then, pretty mellow, because I didn't want to stress people out in here, because you know they're just living their lives and that. But that was reasonable. Like we're still above 12%, so we're still going. The odometer is still ticking over. So yeah, man. Like, okay, we're getting close. We're 2% off, if my math is correct. So. Yeah, okay, 13. We're doing 50 and it is still going down, and like, you know, you're not gonna, unless you live on a freeway or something, you're gonna have to do a little bit of slightly slower speed riding. You know, just at the very beginning and very end of your ride, that's just the way it is. But I thought this would segue nicely into another video where I was doing a range test around here at slow speeds, just to, you know, see what the other end of it is, because obviously when they put on the box that it can do 200 miles or whatever, yeah, in what mode, at what speed, etc, etc. Is still cruising around nicely, like it is as an urban cruiser. Okay, we just hit 12, and I knew that because just then I went to give it a bit of whoop whoop, and it was like, nah, I ain't got nothing. So, well, it's got something, but it's not what it once was. 12 is where I call it on this particular bike. Yeah, but you know, uphill here, it's still going up. Like if you were, you know, heading back to your place or whatever, you wouldn't be having to walk, that's for sure. But I will stop at the next junction as we come around to this T junction. I'll get to 0 and I'll see how it goes from 0 to 50. Because I wouldn't want to go back out on the 100 stretch now that we're at 12, because it just doesn't have the go that I would feel comfortable with. You know, it was already a bit dicey. Okay, let's see how we go. So we are on 0. It's a bit taller than my Duke, so wibble wobble there. So yeah, that's pretty mellow now, but it's still going. Like, it could still do more than 50 for sure. I don't know how much more, but don't think it'll do too much. Okay, so I'm going to call that a day because I got to get back and I need a little bit of juice. If I'm topping out around about 50, no. But yeah, like I said before, 12 is where I call it on this particular bike because, as you saw, it still did a good job, but on the 100 stretch. But yeah, now that it can't get up to 50 particularly quick and probably won't go much beyond that, I wouldn't want to be riding it around. I would do it if I had to, like I'd rather do that than walk, but I'd probably, I don't know, you could have your hazards on or whatever. It's being street legal, it's got all that stuff. So yeah, I'll come back and I'll do slow speed range eco mode kind of thing, just to show what that can do and maybe chat about slow speed maneuvers and that kind of stuff. But yeah, we are at 11%, so we're definitely below that 12% where I wanted to call it. So I will look at the footage and work out the range. Yeah, what are we gonna do?